Azimio leader Raila Odinga vows to march on and organize more protests.
Lakini kuleta majambazi kuvamia shamba ya mwenyewe, hiyo si halali.
The opposition leader also arrived at former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family farm in Ruiru, accompanied by Azimio leaders to show support for the former president after yesterday's invasion on the farm. Following yesterday's demonstrations, where arsonists targeted both a church and a mosque, religious leaders are expressing concern that political differences are taking on a religious dimension.
Tunawasihi jamii ya wanaoishi hapa Kibera waweze kuishi kwa amani.
They find development deeply worrying. A total of 72 students from Mokomo Girls High School, located in Kakamega County, have been hospitalized after showing symptoms of diarrhea. The affected girls were admitted to the Kakamega County General Hospital, where health officials are suspecting a possible outbreak of cholera.
My name is Dennis Otieno. Our sign language interpreter is Rhoda Mwende. Now on to our top story tonight. 124 students from Mokomo Girls High School have been taken ill with diarrhea. Although it was not immediately established what the students suffered from, it is suspected that food poisoning could be the likely cause of diarrhea. Public health officials in the county say they are still conducting tests and will hospital where they continue to recuperate.
The great gift of life that you granted unto us.
And as the deputy principal has just
The great gift of life that you granted unto us.
and as the deputy principal has just
The great gift of life that you granted unto us.
and as the deputy principal.
Meanwhile, representatives from the Inter-Religious Council have called on President William Ruto and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance leader Raila Odinga to resolve their issues before the country falls into complete anarchy. Speaking during a peacekeeping mission in Kibra area, where a mosque, a church and other small businesses were torched on Monday night over alleged political differences, the leaders warned the residents against being used by political figures to settle old scores. At least one person is said to have lost his life in the fracas, while two others are recuperating in hospital.
These are the remains of what used to be a booming club and hardware business in Kibera's Karanja Road area. The owner says stock worth millions of shillings was turned into ashes in a matter of seconds on Monday night.
So kufika mwendo saa 12 ya jioni ndio wakafanya nini? Wakaingia hapa. Wakaweka, kuna nyumba zilikuwa hapo kando za mabati, wakaweka moto, ndio wakakuja na mashoka na mapanga, wakapomoa, wakaanza kupomoa duka langu. So wakapomoa, wakaingia ndani, wakaiba, wakamalizia kuchoma.
A few meters from it are the remnants of the Pentecostal Church of East Africa, Kibera. The church was also broken into, robbed and partly burnt. In the same vicinity, businesses outside the Masjid Al-Aqsa Mosque were burnt to the ground. The target of the arson was reportedly the mosque. However, it was luckily saved by worshippers who were inside it at the time of the incident. Religious leaders in unison have condemned the criminal acts, saying it is unfortunate that political differences have taken a religious turn.
Hatutaki watu ambao watakuwa ni wenye kuchangia kutuvurugia maisha yetu. Kwa nini? kwa sababu tayari tuna kututosha. Gharama ya chakula imepanda, watoto hitaji kusoma, maradhi ya watu ni nyingi watakakutibiwa, na juu yake pia tukose amani, inakuwa ni shida juu ya shida.
For the people of Kibra, the Christians and the Muslims, these, I think we have heard already, these are not buildings. They are places of worship and they are sacred places of God and Allah. Can we ask, is it too much to ask the Muslims to cross that river and help Christians rebuild their church? Can we ask the Christians to cross that river and rebuild the mosque?
The leaders, who are accompanied by human rights defenders, called on President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to resolve their issues in order to prevent a repeat of the 2007 post-election violence.
Piga kifua, mimi siwezi sema na huyu, mimi siongei na hii, tutawaambia kama viongozi sasa, tusikizeni. Hatutatutia kwa shari wakati mwingine. Hatutakubali kwamba tuwe tunazozana kwa ajili yenu. Na nyinyi hamlali jaa, nyinyi mwaishi vizuri, lakini mnafanya tuzozane bure.
Further, the leaders warned the residents against allowing various political figures to use them to settle old scores.
Mine is just a call that you as members of the public, you also have a role to ensure that you refrain from attacking one another so as we can exist peacefully as one community.
At least one person is said to have lost his life in the fracas, while 2 others are recuperating in hospital. Tension in the area remains high, even as another countrywide anti-government protest is set to take place on Thursday.
After last night's event, religious leaders and stakeholders from different religions have gathered here with one message for the people of Kibra, and that is peace, love and unity. Zainab Mohammed, TV47 in Kibra, Nairobi.
And on the same breath, the Azimio One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga has issued a strong statement to President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, stating that they will not stop their protests until their listed demands are addressed by the Kenya Kwanza government. Odinga toured the Northland farm linked to the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family, where a group of people invaded the expansive farm on Monday. Micah Gongo now reports.
During a tour of Northland Farm located in Ruiru sub-county along the Kamakis-Mombasa Road interlink, former Prime Minister and Azimio leader Raila Odinga raised concerns about the National Police Service being allegedly influenced politically. He criticized their failure to respond to a distressing situation at the farm linked to former head of state Uhuru Kenyatta, only responding more than 24 hours later.
It is not an accident that the police was not here. The information we have is that this land gave a portion of this land to the police officers to construct a police post. Unfortunately, there was no police officer in sight.
Odinga has accused President William Ruto and his deputy principal Rigathi Gachagua for what he claimed was inciting Kenyans to invade private property, warning that the trend could be dangerous.
Shamba hii vile vilisema ilivamiwa jana na kikosi ya majambazi ambao walitolewa nje. Wakaji wa hapa wote wamesema ati wale jamaa walikuja hapa sio wakaji wa hapa. Ni watu ambaye waliletwa hapa na mabasi. Wakaletwa hapa, wakatupwa hapa na walikuwa na vifaa vya kukata miti.
The opposition leader claimed that the attack, which was carried out at the Northlands farm and at the Spectre International company associated with his family, was done following orders of top leaders in government.
Serikali inataka ilinde maisha na mali ya kila Mkenya. Nikiwa kama Mkenya anataka shamba na wiki mwenye shamba anaongea na mwenye shamba, alafu anakubaliana kama mwenye shamba anataka kuuza anamuuzia. Lakini kuleta majambazi kuvamia shamba ya mwenyewe, hiyo si halali.
Odinga further alleged that the government sponsored the confrontation between two communities in Kibra, saying that the meeting to plan the attacks were organized by a section of parliamentarians among other leaders.
Kule Kibira walituma vijana majambazi, wakaingia kule kuleta vurugu. Alafu baadaye walikuwa nataka kuleta mapigano ya wenyewe kwa wenyewe baina ya Wakristo na Waislamu. Wakateketea msikiti na kisha wakateketea kanisa. Walikuwa wanataka watu vile waanza kupigana kwa msingi ya kikabila.
Odinga has maintained that Azimio will not call off the anti-Kenya Kwanza regime protest until their demands are addressed. The issues Azimio la Umoja is demanding to be addressed include reduction of the cost of living, the opening of the IEBC servers, and involving all political parties in the selection of new IEBC commissioners. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Well, thank you, Mike Kagwango, for that report. Now, President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua have received criticism from the Taita Taveta political leaders, stating that the two should consider the petitions fronted by Raila Odinga in his mass protests. The leaders now say they will join the Azimio leader in the ongoing mass action due Thursday, specifically to advocate for the lowering of the high cost of living. Take a look.
Tuko nyuma yale maandamano ambayo yanafanywa na baba pale Nairobi, na haya maandamano ningependa tuseme kwamba si maandamano ya Raila Amolo Odinga peke yake. Cha kunishangaza kabisa, rais wetu anaenda kuingilia mambo ya HELB, Higher Education Loans Board. There is no longer funding for students to go to university. That's very pathetic na ni mbaya sana na inatuumiza, maana mimi mwenyewe kama sio HELB singekuwa nimesoma. Nikitumia ile pesa ya loan ambayo nailipa polepole ndio linisomesha.
Lakini hii constitution ndio imetuletea devolution. Imekuweka wewe hapo kwenye kiti, imeweka cronies wako kwenye viti, imeweka kila mtu ambaye unajisikia naye kwenye kiti na ulikuwa unaipinga. Devolution is next to development. Alafu unainyonga sahi, unaistrangle. MCs wetu na pamoja na governor wanatuambia kwamba pesa haziji. Ukiuliza national government haija release pesa kutoka kwa exchequer. What is that?
Shortcut ya kumaliza maandamano na kuleta amani katika Kenya ni kusikia rais, serikali isikize kilio cha mwananchi. Mwananchi maisha yamemshinda. Tunasema serikali shukisha maisha ya mwanadamu.
Na sisi hapa tuko tayari kuanza kufanya maandamano ya amani, maandamano ambayo haina bugdha yoyote, lakini maandamano ambayo yanasema kwa sauti moja. Tunataka serikali ichukue loan, hiyo mambo ya maji ya hizi suluhishwa na TAVEVO, serikali kuu ichukue loan kwa niaba hiyo hali.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Raila Odinga is now blaming President William Ruto, who is out of the country, for orchestrating attacks on private property that unfolded on Monday, stating that demonstrations will go on until their demands are met. Odinga alleged that the government sanctioned goons to invade property, even as Kenya Kwanza leaders distanced themselves from the attacks and urged the DCI to probe the matter.
Addressing the media on Tuesday, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga took a swipe at President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua over the invasion of private property and police attacks on civilians. The Azimio la Umoja One leader claimed that the violence witnessed yesterday in country was part of President William Ruto's modus operandi in trying to stifle any quest for change, but they insisted that they won't be cowed and instead will soldier on until their demands are met.
Ruto must make no mistake. I repeat, Ruto must make no mistake. This struggle will march on, stronger and mightier, with his every vile response until our demands are met.
We call out high-ranking government officials, starting with the principal assistant of Ruto, one Rigathi Gachagua, Kimani Ichung'wah, the National Assembly Majority Leader, and others who issued threats.
However, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade, led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and his Senate counterpart Aaron Cheruiyot, has distanced itself from the attacks, claiming that they are being targeted by Azimio leaders by maligning their names and urging relevant authorities to take up the matter.
if you continue to orchestrate violence, violence has no end, it has no boundaries. You find it at your doorstep. Kenyans have questions about your leadership, about your family's wealth, from land to the Pandora Papers, to the looting that happened in the last 3 months of your regime as president. And I've told you part of the script is to ensure that this government ceases investigations on matters extrajudicial killings, crimes against humanity.
Of course, Azimio use coded languages in communicating. When they tell their supporters, go out and peacefully demonstrate, their supporters understand what they are saying. That's why they don't do it peacefully. They run havoc on innocent civilians, public property. So please, dear Kenyans, let us join all of us in one voice and ask the Inspector General of Police to take action against those that are leading these demonstrations and those that are leading protesters in destroying other people's properties.
The Azimio leader decried that President Ruto's administration was drawing back to the achievements brought about by Constitution, further insisting that they will not allow and his Azimio brigade expressed displeasure over the international community remaining mum while things are thick in the country.
The country is in the hands of men who are goons at heart, while pretending to be leaders and statesmen. How does Ruto go to Germany and talk about attracting German foreign investment to Kenya, knowing very well that back at home, he has put in place a machinery for vicious attack on local investments?
Elizabeth Mutiko, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, tonight, as the hearing into allegations of massive cheating in last year's KCSE examination intensifies across the 11 hotspot counties, the National Assembly's Committee on Education, headed by Tinderet Member of Parliament Julius Meli, earlier today held a discussion with school principals, teachers and parents in Wajir County over the allegations of exam cheating. Elizabeth Atieno now reports.
During the meeting, the committee cited the unrestrained desire to succeed at all costs and the craving for promotion by teachers as the driving factors to blame for exam cheating.
Issues that came up here are issues of inequality, on issues of staffing, which we are pledged to look or to go and look at it as Committee of Education. The issue of infrastructural development, which is actually lacking in most of the schools. And as Committee of Education, we want to commend the students of this region for doing well despite the difficulties they go through.
The public, on the other hand, opposed the move by the parliamentary committee to probe exam malpractices in the region, with the principals and teachers from Wajir County disregarding the inquiry into the allegations.
Examination failures for a number of years. When the schools have done very well and the students have done very well, then the parliamentary committee here is to investigate cheating. The parliamentary committee should have been here to investigate why there was mass failure in education in the previous years. Unfortunately, that has not happened, but we have taken advantage of their presence today. And we have told them that this area requires affirmative action so that teachers can be recruited.
On the 7th of December 2022, 7 officials were being probed by detectives after cases of malpractice were unearthed at Eldas Boys Secondary School in Wajir County. The detectives were forced to visit the classroom in question, where chemistry paper 1 was ongoing, and recovered 3 mobile phones allegedly owned by students inside a locker, further confiscating mobile phones belonging to examination officials. The committee has so far toured 10 of the 11 hotspot counties in the country. Some of the counties probed include Nakuru, Nyeri, Uasin Gishu, Embu, Kakamega, Machakos, Nyamira, Mombasa, Kisumu and Wajir.
In the whole county where there was no cheating, the issue that might have happened in other parts of the country, they pointed it to the Kenya National Examination Council, which is actually the body mandated to take care of exams in the Republic of Kenya.
Nairobi is the only county remaining with the hearing scheduled for Friday this week and will bring to an end the countrywide public hearings that started on the 20th of March, after which the committee will retreat to write its report and table it before Parliament within 2 months. After the public hearings, the committee will, among others, listen to presentations by Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu and Kenya National Examination Council CEO David Njegere, who will be put to task to explain the conduct of the 2022 KCSE examinations. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Now, from matters education to the effects of the mass action called by the Azimio la Umoja party, former Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria has criticized leaders funding the political chaos witnessed on Monday in Nairobi. He said the country is at risk of plunging into chaos if President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga will not tame their hardliners. Speaking to the press in Murang'a, wa Iria said there was a need for reconciliation among the leaders from the two political divides before the intervention of the international community. However, wa Iria has decried the attack on former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm, calling on the Kikuyu community to be their brothers' keepers.
Kwa Kenyatta, hiyo siku nyingine tukachome kwa wa Iria. Hiyo siku nyingine tutafanya hivyo mpaka sasa. Tutaweka kasumba ya mtu akikosewa ama hataki mwingine ama hafikiri kama yeye, anaenda kwake anachoma. Hiyo ni shauri gani? Kikuyus, we must repent. And I said during campaigns, and people thought I was joking, there will be a curse in this nation of Kikuyu if we continue behaving the way we are behaving. We are not competing for any leadership. That issue is so heavy in people's hearts. It doesn't matter whether it's Kenyatta's farm, whether it's Ruto's farm, whether it's Wairia's farm, whether it's Mama Boga's farm. We cannot go that direction. And I want to beseech my people, the people of Kikuyu. We hate ourselves, we shall disappear. We have shown a very bad image to this nation that we can do that. You have people speaking Kikuyu and saying this goat is about 10,000. Someone is speaking Kikuyu coming from Kenyatta's farm, putting a goat here. Ai, hiyo ni korogwa. Hiyo tumerogwa haki. Na morogi yameenda bali. And I want now to speak frankly from my heart. And I want to speak.
Meanwhile, 6 family members of the late prominent Paramount Chief Kibor have breathed a sigh of relief after an Eldoret court released them on bail following a 3.5 billion shillings property feud involving Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi. Elsewhere, 6 Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning officials were acquitted in a case that was dragged on since the year 1994. Amida Yakub with the details.
6 family members of the late prominent Paramount Chief Kibor Arap Talai from Kapsaret Sub-County in Uasin Gishu have been released on bail by Eldoret Court following 3.5 billion prime property feud between area MP Oscar Sudi and the family of the deceased.
And in insisting that the report was to be ready by today, I was considering the age of the accused persons, who in my opinion are fairly old. So that being the case, I proceed to grant bond terms to the tune of 100,000 with the surety of a similar amount or a cash bill of 50,000 each.
The accused persons Nancy Thalai, Margaret Thalai, Lydia Thalai, Simon Thalai, Philemon Kipto and Colin Thalai were charged with unlawful damaging the fencing poles and barbed wires, all valued at 600,000 shillings, which is the property of Eunice Thalai, who was an in-law to the late Paramount Chief. Senior resident magistrate Christine Menya in her ruling directed that the accused person be freed on a bond of 100,000 shilling or a cash bill of 50,000 shilling each, as she scheduled the case to be heard on April 12th before the chief magistrates. The family, through their lawyer Alexander Jaoka, told the Eldoret court that Sudi was using his influence to forcefully acquire a section of their vast agricultural land, estimated at more than 3,000 acres, despite the existence of property succession disputes. Elsewhere, Mombasa Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku has acquitted 3 former public officers who served under the Coast Province Ministry of Land and Physical Planning over 9 charges filed against them in 1994.
Prosecution has not provided any evidence to establish a prima facie case, against the first, second, and third accused persons, and count number 3, 4, 5, and 6 equally fail, and the accused persons are acquitted under Section 210 of the CPC.
And in the Nairobi Anti-Corruption Court, former Bonchari MP Robert Omieke has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for receiving a 200,000 shilling bribe. Amida Yakub, TV 47.
And thank you, Amida Yakub, for that report. Now, from the corridors of justice, we are due a short break, but don't go too far. We'll be right back with more.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. As you enter a new phase of life, you may seem lost until you discover the passion within.
I'm happy that MKU decided to open a branch in Malindi to make work easier for those parents who have never been away from their kids or children.
That's all the equipment that I need to study and all the facilities that I need.
Since we are one of the most beautiful and ultra-modern structure.
Join us at Mount Kenya University and Equip Africa Institute Malindi Odell Center to build your future. Intake in April for electronic learning and May for distance learning. Mount Kenya University.
Unlocking infinite possibilities.
Karibuni.
Mount Kenya.
Platinums.
Kibaki Convention Center, the premier events venue. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to meet all your needs, from large-scale conferences to intimate meetings and everything in between. Located in the heart of Thika, the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center offers stunning views of the city skyline and is easily accessible from all major transportation hubs. Our facility features ample parking, free Wi-Fi, advanced audiovisual equipment, and our technical team is always on hand to ensure your event runs smoothly and seamlessly. Don't take our word for it. Make your next event unforgettable at the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center. Contact us today for bookings and reservations. Email multimedia@mku.ac.ke or call us on 0708 212204 or 0727 441733 or 0721 438 629 to learn more about our services and book your event.
Nishachukua chanjo ili Kenya iwe chonjo, tailinda Kenya kishujaa, suluhisho ni mimi na wewe, sote tupate chanjo ya corona ili Kenya tukue chonjo.
Kenya tutakuwa chonjo, sote tukipata chanjo, jilinde unilinde, sote tutakuwa sawa. Kenya tutakuwa chonjo, sote tukipata chanjo, jilinde unilinde, sote tutakuwa sawa.
Pata chanjo, tuwe chonjo. Chanjo za corona ni salama na zapatikana kote nchini. TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, President William Ruto has promised to strengthen bilateral ties between Kenya and Germany in his 4-day tour to Europe as he holds bilateral talks concerning trade. The president held talks with German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Today, the president delivered a keynote address at the 2023 Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue, outlining challenges of security and worsening climate crisis. Paul Kirobi with more.
President William Ruto has told Kenyans living in Germany that his administration would handle demonstrations effectively and independently through the criminal justice system. While addressing Kenyans, the president allayed fears of the demonstrations getting out of hand, promising to handle the situation by ensuring the criminal justice system works effectively and independently.
I want to give you my assurance that impunity will never be and will not continue to be part of our political discourse. None of us is above the law. All of us must submit to the rule of law. It's the only thing that makes us equal. There are no tall or short or fat or thin people.
Ruto's political stand and decision comes at a time many business people have been affected due to demonstrations in the country, which has sent fears to the foreign investors. However, his 2022 opponent in the August election, Raila Odinga, promises to resist Ruto's call of ending demonstrations in the country.
The diaspora is going to be part and parcel of the business that I have in governing Kenya. And that they will have a very special place because the diaspora for a very long time did not get the kind of fair treatment that a government is supposed to give to all its citizens.
Earlier on, the president, while addressing members in the 2023 Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue, he called on the European countries to invest more on challenges arising from climate change that has greatly affected African countries, leading to drought.
And the need to push for increased investment in climate action globally and specifically in Africa. I invite German and European companies and organizations to come and sample opportunities and ideas on Africa's contribution to solving this global climate challenge.
The president attended the 2023 Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue Conference, where he highlighted the challenges of security and the worsening climate crisis. He also held talks with business leaders in the European country, where they agreed on approaches to bringing more German and international companies to Kenya. He also held talks with business leaders in the European country, where they agreed on approaches to bringing more German and international companies to Kenya. President William Ruto embarked on a 4-day tour of Europe to strengthen his government's bilateral ties with Western countries for mutual benefit. He arrived in Germany on Monday, 27th. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Now, to a sad turn of events in the Western region. A middle-aged man is being detained by police officers after allegedly killing his 21-year-old girlfriend in Ebusiralo village, Luanda constituency, Vihiga County. The suspect, Dixon Indeku, is alleged to have persuaded his lover to come to his house before attacking and stabbing her several times on the neck before surrendering at the Mbale police station. Investigations into the incident are ongoing. The family of the deceased, speaking to the media, stated that the relationship between the two has been rocky for some time.
Yenyewe mshukiwa wako na aliweza kujitambulisha na karibu mwenyewe alijisalimisha na tukaweza kuchukua hatua zinazofaa. So uchunguzi unaendelea na ofisa wetu wa DCI na naamini file ikiwa tayari kwa ile muda ambao koti tawapatia ataweza kufikishwa mahakamani.
Hata alikatwa ndio damu ilikuwa inatokea. Hata kama walikuwa wanasema tuende haraka tumpeleke hospitali, hata hangefika 100 yards from a place alimdungia.
Nilienda nikapata ameaka, nimesunika sana. Alikuwa analalamika, anasema huyu kijana sio mzuri. Wanakaanga tu vizuri, ikifika wakati amekeuka, anataka kumnyonga. Na nikamwambia sasa, ukijua hivyo ni nini unaenda huko? Anasema huwa ananipembeleza. Ama saa zingine anasema akimpata kwa njia anamkaza, anamwambia twende nyumbani. Sasa hiyo urafiki yao ilikuwa ya wasiwasi.
Elsewhere, residents of Gatimayo village in Lari constituency who assist in planting and nurturing trees in Kereita forest are now calling upon the Kenya Forest Service and the Cabinet Secretary to Environment, Soipan Tuya, to review the order that barred farmers under the Shamba system to continue planting maize crops in the forest. The residents want the Kenya Forest Service to install an electric fence that will protect the shambas not to be invaded by elephants and other animals that are in the forest. Joan Wangeshi, one of the beneficiaries of the Shamba system, said many people retreated from tilling in the forest since the circular was released by the then Environment Cabinet Secretary.
Tulikuwa tunapanda mimea ya aina yote ama chakula, lakini ilifika wakati tukaambiwa tuweze kupanda mahindi. Mahindi ndio inatusaidia kwa sababu ukipanda for example upande viazi, tuko na wanyama wengine ambao wanakuja wanazitoa, lakini mahindi inatusaidia kabla ikuwe kabisa, tunaweza kutoa tupatie ng'ombe na zingine. Kwa hivyo wakati wa sasa wamesimamisha, wananchi wakagoma, wakasema hakuna faida wanapata kule kwa kulima kwa msitu. Tunaomba KFS reconsider, allow us to pande mahindi ndio tuweze kusaidiana katika conservation.
Tunalia tuwekeo hiyo 2 strips electric fence ndio tuashane na mambo ya wanyama. Ndovu zinatusumbua sana. Sana hii msitu yetu ya Kereita iko chini ya Aberdare na tunasumbua sana ni ndovu.
Shamba system to be looked again. Sababu there are many gaps. Sababu hiyo gap ya wakazi kukataa kuhudumia msitu, hiyo italeta mashida nyingi. Sababu wakati wanalima mahindi pia wanapalilia mti, na wakati wanaweka borea kwa chakula yao pia mti inasaidika kwa hiyo borea.
May the soul of the bereaved rest in eternal peace. Now, wrangles in the Pentecostal Assemblies of God PAG Church Kenya has taken a new twist after one of the factions took the matter to court and obtained orders of the removal from office of the current leadership. However, the church leadership in Vihiga County was adamant, stating that they would not take orders given by the court, a scenario that resulted to the state of dilemma and confusion. Led by Reverend Patrick Oyondi, the leaders called on their opponents to embrace peace and avoid conflicts that have been witnessed in the church from time to time. They insisted on having a possible solution that would have the wrangle solved for the betterment of the church. They called on church members to embrace the existing leadership.
The order is vague, and therefore the manner in which it's being implemented is suspicious. Issue about leadership, we have been fought for some time. It defeats logic why the orders are being implemented at such a time when our Bible students, pastoral team, which has been prepared to go out there. Right now, Kenya is suffering. The country is bleeding. We need prayers. And the intervention of the church is very key. And it's a very institution that is being attacked by the police purporting to implement orders. Therefore, our pledge is that the police will observe their lines, their boundaries.
Wakati nimepata kwamba wanafunga ofisi, nimekimbia katika koti ya Vihiga ambayo hiyo order ilitoka, na nikapata ya kwamba OCS aliandika barua kule apewe wa verify orders ambayo walikuwa wamepewa katika judicial review, na ikapatikana ya kwamba hiyo order haijasema ya kwamba ofisi zifungwe. Na niko na hizo order, tunataka tuende tuone county commandant atuambie ametumia sheria gani kufunga offices za.
Meanwhile, thousands of unemployed Kericho residents turned up at the Eka Terrace 3 estates in a bid to get a job after the company yielded to the recommendations of a task force formed by Area Governor Dr. Eric Mutai to review operations of the tea farms in the county. And as our reporter Norbert Odor reports, majority of the residents secured a chance as some sorrowfully expressed their disappointments for not being employed to work in the tea farms.
A high number of unemployment rate in Kericho County was evident at the Ikateras estates as residents turned out in large numbers, hoping to secure a chance to work in the tea farms. This came after Kericho County Governor Dr. Eric Mutai recommended the recommendation of a task force to review the operations of the tea farms in the county, and Ekatera yielded to this recommendation. Dennis Rono and Nicholas Kogo from Kapsaos were among those who successfully landed a tea harvesting job at the Chagagaik estate. They described the recruitment exercise as free and fair, saying they had applied unsuccessfully for years to the United Kingdom-based company, but finally they had made it through.
Mkia asubuhi kwa hii process ya kuajiri wafanyikazi, na mimi nimekuwa mmoja wao ambao nimeajiri kazi, na hii process imeenda ikiwa free and fair. Napenda sana nirudishie kampuni shukrani kwa kutoa hii siku ya leo.
Kwa tukitafuta kazi kwa miaka mingi, tukikuja saa zingine
And we do apologize for that. That story is being rectified. It will be coming to us in a few minutes from now. But shifting focus to matters the business news. The Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, has given the green light to 10 digital credit providers in accordance with Section 59 of the CBK Act. The total number of licensed companies under the Digital Credit Providers DCP now stands at 32, following the licensing of 22 DCPs in January. As of March, the CBK has received at least 401 applicants for licenses. This number of applicants came after Kenya's Central Bank issued regulations for digital credit providers last year. Additionally, Google published its new policy in January, which requires credit providing applications to obtain licenses from the top bank. The CBK advisory comes less than a week after Google suspended hundreds of loan apps that were deemed unsecured personal loans in the country. Meanwhile, Equity Bank Group has posted 46.1 billion shillings after tax, attributing to the 15.1% growth in net earnings. Non-funded income grew by 33% to 58.3 billion shillings, while net interest income grew by 25% to 86 billion shillings. The bank's Group Managing Director and CEO James Mwangi said that 97% of the bank's transactions are now happening on self-service mobile devices and through third-party payment infrastructure. However, the lender's gross profit dropped by 47.2% to 59.8 billion shillings compared to 113.4 billion shillings reported in the year 2021.
59.8 billion shillings profit before tax. A profit after tax of 46.1 billion, a 15% year-on-year growth, a 33% growth in dividend payout to 15.1 billion shillings. So the earnings per share has gone up by 15% to 12 shillings per share, and the dividend has been declared at 4 shillings per share, or recommended at 4 shillings per share. A record Kenya shillings 1.447 trillion balance sheet after 11% growth in total asset. A record deposit base. For the first time, Equity exceeded 1 trillion shillings of customer deposit after a 10% year-on-year growth. The Equity brand, just in the name Equity, group is now valued 69 billion shillings. If you just sold the name alone, you would put in the pocket 69 billion shillings without touching assets. You have not touched any asset. You have just touched the reputation.
And in the sports news, the Athletics Integrity Unit CEO Brett Colthier has said that there are concerted efforts in tackling doping in the country. Speaking in Eldoret town while on a tour of the North Rift region, Colthier said though there has been many cases in the past, there are good news through the national government's efforts allocating additional funding of up to $5 million to tackle the doping menace. He said he will hold a meeting with the Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba and other sports officials in Nairobi this coming Friday to deliberate on the way forward. Meanwhile, Uasin Gishu County Governor Jonathan B. cautioned rogue coaches, saying some have ill motives and introduce athletes into doping.
Very hard to solve the doping menace in Kenya. The national government, through the Ministry of Sport, has pledged $5 million per year in additional funding to tackle this menace. And we at the Athletics Integrity Unit are working very, very closely with Athletics Kenya, with the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, with the government at all levels, national and regional, to develop the strategy for how to spend this money the best way possible.
Grateful to World Athletics that they accepted our appeal and they gave us a chance to look at what we need to do and clear this menace that has given our athletes, and not only our athletes, including athlete support personnel and everybody else. We tell them without any fear that we don't entertain this kind of thing, because doping is actually cheating. You cannot allow an athlete to go and cheat and spoil the world of athletics. I mean the world of athletics in terms of competitions with the rest of the world.
Now, from matters athletics to boxing, Kenyan boxer Daniel Wanyonyi has said he is ready to take on Tanzania's showboating boxer Karim Mandonga alias Mtukazi in a rematch bout. The two pugilists had already faced off against each other earlier in January this year, where Mandonga emerged victorious. Wanyonyi stated that he has full tactics to defeat his showboating opponent as he draws motivation from winning his respective Nairobi Fight Night Rumble bout against Uganda's Charles Kakande. Take a look.
Nafikiri by mwezi hizo zinakuja atakutana na Mandonga. Mandonga hizi maliza hata round 2 kwa Wanyonyi. Na mtaona, nimeelezea hapa na mtaona. Hizi maliza round 2. Sahi. Kwa hiyo fight yake inakuja na nafikiri Betnare wanajaribu kunegotiate na hiyo watu. Ambao tumeshukuru sana Betnare.
Hata hilo pigano tukirudiana hiyo rematch ya Mandonga, matokeo itakuwa ni kama hayo. Kazi yangu ni makeo tu sasa. Mimi ni kupigana kwa ring.
And at the same time, gaming firm Betnare earlier today released a report on the just concluded Nairobi Fight Night Rumble boxing match that was held at the Kasarani Indoor Arena over the weekend. In Betnare's report, the boxing event was successful and went according to plan, despite the low turnout of fans at the arena. Meanwhile, participating boxers, including Kenya's pride Emmanuel Onyonyi, expressed their gratitude to the company for investing in sports for investing in the sport and sponsoring the boxers. Betnare's Director General stated that the company is committed to supporting not only boxing, but more other sports disciplines in the country.
We're here today just to let you know of the event which took place at the Kasarani Arena on Saturday. There was a few matches. Wanyonyi was fighting, and I'm very pleased to say I watched him fight the last one in January, and the second one, he knocked the guy out, and Betnare has been supporting him.
Nashukuru Betnare kwa kuniamini kuona ile pigano langu la kwanza na Mandonga, na walinielewa. Kile kilifanya nikapoteza ilikuwa ni mambo 2-3 ambapo wamekaa wakawa wamezitatua. Sasa saa hii ili pigano lilikuwa Kasarani, hata nyinyi mliona tofauti ilikuwa. Penari wamesimama na mimi, sasa kazi ni tofauti.
Now, remember, those were the boxers who took part in the Nairobi Fight Night Rumble. Now, the Bet gaming firm, Bet Nare, of course, conducted a report, or rather